Let's move on to Apologia Comedia. A new video from Apologia Comedia. Joe Rogan is losing control of the comedy narrative. Bro, everyone's attacking Rogan recently. I fucking love it. Joe Rogan's losing control of the comedy narrative. Big up Apologia Comedia. Big up everybody watching too. If you're watching, you like what you see, please like the stream. Do me a favor and like the stream. Don't be stingy. Like the stream. That's all I ask from you. Please like the stream. Thank you. Let's go.
But the point is, it's like denying that Austin is an amazing scene is just stupid.
Yes.
It's just stupid.
Well, yeah, it's like
It's not New York. We'll just put that in cement and let it dry. It's not New York. We're better than Austin, but I like Austin.
The narrative is only with jealous people. It's not based on any reality. It's not based on people who go there and hang out.
Well, no, New York still has the best comics. And I wrote that, and then Tony Hinchcliffe screenshotted it to me and said to me, he's like, really? You think New York's got better comics than us? And then he was like, who do you have? And then I just fucking wrote, and I'll pull up the list. I just, like...
So many bitches. And those bitches never get anything done. They just sit and bitch. And this and that and that and this and that and this.
Yeah.
And nothing ever gets done.
yeah.
They never progress.
What do you think brought this on, by the way? I have my theories. What do you think brought this on? What do you think made comedians across the board finally wake up and grow some balls and be like, you know what? Austin ain't that great. The Austin comedy scene ain't that great. The comedy mothership isn't the second coming of Christ. What happened? My theory is the Elephant Graveyard. I think the Elephant Graveyard's video, that recent one, I think that shook comedians to their core, and I think it really exposed or kind of highlighted them just how sycophantic, almost cult-like they are around Rogan. And I think it made some of them feel a bit uneasy when they started to see it kind of displayed that way, spoken about that way, illustrated that way. And they're trying to go out of their way to kind of prove now to the audience, to the people watching, to the fans, whatever it may be, to the comedy community at large, that they are not like, you know, bootlickers. They're not lick asses, you know. I think that's what happened. I think the catalyst for this anti-Austin rhetoric and whatever was the Elephant Graveyard. I think the Elephant Graveyard video shook of some of these comedians to their core to see that how they were viewed, how they were perceived by others, you know. I personally think that's what happened. But what do you guys think?
So Joe Rogan is having a harder time than usual pretending he doesn't care. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of trash talk aimed at Austin, the comedy mothership, and the Rogan sphere. And for a guy who says he never reads the comments, it's becoming increasingly clear that he's definitely reading the comments.
Another thing as well that's interesting, this is a debate I don't think I've seen fans having. I take a gander at all the big comedy podcast Reddits, right? I know the Reddits aren't the best illustration or representation of fans, but it does give you some insight. You don't really hear the comedy podcast community fans talking or debating about which area of the states is better at comedy. You don't really see them, like, people debating about East Coast, West Coast shit on Kill Tony Reddit, Joe Rogan Reddit, Bad Friends Reddit, Your Mum's House Reddit. You know, no one's really talking about that. It feels like this is a topic of discussion that is primarily being started and perpetrated by the comedians. I don't think the fans or the viewers or whatever give a fuck, really and truly. They don't give a fuck. They think who they think is funny, and that's it. But I don't think they really care about which is funnier, and I don't think they do. I really don't.
You can see it in his recent episode with the son Ahmad. Ahmad casually mentions that he loves watching all the comedy drama essay channels, and Joe immediately shoots him down. From Joe's perspective, anyone criticizing Austin comedy is just jealous. I guess he thinks the haters are just mad they're not tight with Trump like him or Tony Hinchcliffe. And conveniently, all of the backlash somehow isn't about the Rogan sphere's quality, culture, or Joe's gatekeeping. It's just haters coping. And the most recent hate was started by Tony. Recently, Lewis publicly aired out his messages with Tony Hinchcliffe over which city actually has the best comedy scene, New York or Austin.
I posted, they were like, you guys should do Skankfest in Austin because it's got the best comedy scene in the world. And I was like, well, no, New York still has the best comics. And I wrote that, and then Tony Hinchcliffe screenshotted it to me and said to me, he's like, really? You think New York's got better comics than us? And then he was like, who do you have? And then I just fucking wrote, and I'll pull up the list. I just like, and then I was like, who do you have? Rogan and and Tom Segura, and then Roseanne is like the third best.
And Shane sometimes.
Shane sometimes.
Tim Dillon.
And you wrote, I'm sending an assassin squad to kill you right now.
Tony is clearly on the losing side of this argument when two of the top three comedians being held up as proof of Austin's dominance are Roseanne and Joe Rogan himself.
And it's really funny as well because you don't really hear a lot of comedians talk about how funny Rogan is at comedy. Hardly ever. You hardly ever hear comedians actually talk about Rogan doing stand-up at all. You hear them talking about his podcast, but you don't really hear Rogan's stand-up comedy friends. Yo, big up, Ricky Pitcher.
Saudi Arabia has the best comedy scene.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It actually does. Unironically, it actually does. Riyadh Comedy Festival. But yeah, big up Ricky Pitcher. You don't really hear any of his friends talk about his stand-up, really. Rogan talks about his friend's stand-up. I watched his special, I watched this killing. You don't really hear Rogan's friends mentioning, oh my god, this bit that fucking Rogan did the other day at the mothership. Oh my god, I was dying. You don't really hear them say that. So it's funny that Tony Hinchcliffe would use Rogan as like, look who we have, Rogan and Roseanne. It's like, do people even rate Rogan? Even his friendship group, I don't think they do. Obviously the internet doesn't, but I don't think even his close group of peers would say he's a good stand-up comedian. On par, at least the kind of person that you'd say, oh yeah, he's the best one of his area. I don't think they would say that.
So at this point, Tony is either genuinely delusional or he knows it's a terrible argument, but he's repeated it long enough that he has no choice but to die on that hill. Then things escalated again. LeMaire Lee, a producer for Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, decided to step way out of his
LeMaire. What did I say the other day? LeMaire Lee. What did I say? What did I call him? LeMaire Lee or LeMaire. I don't know why I got his name so fucking wrong. Big up Coiler though. I don't know why I butchered this guy's name. It's so, look, it just says it there. LeMaire Lee, right? LeMaire. I still got it wrong, didn't I? What did I say there? LeMaire. It's LeMaire, right? Not LeMaire. What did he say?
It again. LeMaire Lee, a producer.
LeMaire Lee. Why is that name fucking me up so much?
For Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, decided to step way out of his lane and play knight in shining armor for Austin. He claimed that all you need to get a spot at a New York comedy club is to be a woman with over 100,000 followers.
But the same thing can be said about Austin. All you need to get a gig at the Austin Comedy Club is agree with Rogan that ivermectin is the next, is the miracle drug, and also not be a fan of Newsom, love Trump, take the piss out of trans people. What else? Yeah. That's basically it. So you could attribute the same thing to Austin comedy scene too.
That did not go over well. Since that post, Luis Gomez has been trashing LeMaire on basically every podcast he appears on, and the timing couldn't be worse. The Rogan sphere took a ton of heat last year, and instead of letting things cool down, they've come out swinging in the new year. But of course, if you ask Joe Rogan, none of this is about legitimate criticism. It's just jealousy.
It's just like, we got a good thing, man. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's just a fun place to be around. Everyone just working jokes. That's what it is, really.
Yeah.
Bill Connor, I don't know how you could understand Ack but not read that. That's touche, Coiler. Touche. I don't know how you could understand Ack but can't read that name. Too fucking shay.
It's so funny. There is such this narrative outside of the ship about what Austin comedy is, and it's just really just a bunch of people just doing jokes.
The narrative is only with jealous people. It's not based on any reality. It's not based on people who go there and hang out.
Right. Well, it's all with these people who love to talk about Austin, but they don't talk to anyone in Austin. It's like there's a bunch of comics willing to hang out and talk to you.
I think I've told you this before, but I have a friend of mine who's, somewhat of a philosopher, an online friend. I don't even know what he looks like. We've been going back and forth for years. Mm-hmm. But he warned me about this a long time ago. He said, you've created a walled garden. And he goes, and you've got all these friends and you're all supporting each other and you're all having fun, but there's a lot of people that feel on the outside and they feel like left out of it. And so they're like, fuck those people. That party sucks. It's kind of along those lines. And, if you could find some connections to other negative things, like me and Tony, we have this connection to Trump. And
the walled garden thing is a very astute observation, his philosopher friend told him. But I think the walled garden thing is also it doesn't make him look good, because essentially what the walled garden sort of attributes to as well is this idea that only Rogan and his friends are the true representation of like stand-up comedy. He often says his friends are murderers, right? There's only 250 of us, most of which are his friends and people that know him or within his crew. That obviously paints a completely different view of what stand-up is at large. And the people on the outside, some of which you probably think are better, they probably think they're funnier than some of your friends. It's going to make them feel away when they're seeing you and your friends get all of the riches, get all of the rewards, get all the opportunities, and none of the opportunities kind of trickling down to the people on the outside. Yo, big up.
Rogan calling it a walled garden. Mans is so close understanding what an echo chamber is,
Exactly.
but he's managed to put a positive spin on it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. You put it so much better than what I was trying to say. Exactly. He's kind of understanding it, but not. He's interpreting it the wrong way. Obviously to like soothe him and to make him feel better. But the walled garden analogy or description isn't a good thing. He should probably be trying to not make people feel like there is a walled garden and trying to embrace all parts of comedy, and also making it clear that he's no kingmaker and he's not the de facto leader of stand-up, and that the comedy scene doesn't begin and end with fucking Austin, all this malarkey. But he kind of likes it. He kind of likes all that shit. So if that's the case, you also have to accept that the people on the outside who aren't involved, they're going to go out of their way to make sure that everybody knows that what you're doing isn't that great. Isn't that funny? Blah, 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 especially in comparison to what they're doing. So I think if you're going to be okay with the walled garden, you have to be okay with the reaction of the people who are on the outside and can't get into the walled garden. But it seems like Rogan wants everything. He wants to be able to have his walled garden, have his little safe space, have all his friends who he puts on and, makes them famous, by default of him being on his show and proximity to him, and have them receive all the riches and rewards of it and blah, 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 blah. And then he also wants people who don't like him to not complain about him and to just love and, and adore everything he does. Okay, bro, that's not realistic.
So does Shane, and there's all sorts of that. Oh, fucking, you got to be a right winger to be, and then the narrative comes up. Oh, you got to tell jokes about fucking trans people. You have to.
Ironically, Joe's online philosopher friend makes a pretty solid point about the Rogan sphere quietly walling itself off from outside criticism. Joe, of course, doesn't hear it that way. In his mind, all of the backlash comes from jealous people, bitter outsiders who are mad they didn't get invited to Austin and become.
I wonder if that's a good way to live your life. Is that better to live your life that way? If you're constantly aware or self-aware or self-deprecating or able to have a little bit of introspection, maybe that makes life difficult. When you're able to just be like black and white, no. If you don't like what I have to say, you're just a hater. Maybe that's a better way to live your life. If you hate me, if you don't like what I do, you're a hater. There's no valid criticism coming from people that don't like what I do. Everything people say that's negative, every criticism that's somewhat valid is rooted in jealousy. Maybe that's a good way to actually live your life. Because if you open yourself up to the idea that strangers that view from the outside might have some insights that might be beneficial or accurate, it might just make you think, it might make you overthink everything. So maybe there's some benefit in just being completely delusional, self-centered, narcissistic almost, and just completely thinking that your shit doesn't stink, and if someone does think your shit does stink, they're a hater. I wonder.
Part of the coveted Rogan sphere. But a lot of the criticism...
Yeah, exactly, Ricky Pitcher. Exactly. Ignorance is bliss. Exactly. I wonder if that's the case.
Isn't jealousy at all. It's genuine disgust. People aren't mad because Bert Kreischer and Tony Hinchcliffe are successful. They're mad that these two are treated like top 250 comedy assassins. That this is what elite comedy supposedly looks like based on what Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe find funny. Joe thinking his stool humping routine is top tier comedy doesn't really help either. And then there's the issue of Joe questions everything Rogan quietly selling out for 30 pieces of Spotify silver. Which is fine, everyone gets paid, but it does make the moral high ground a little harder to stand on. So when Joe says he doesn't like New York comedians beefing with Austin comedians, it's probably not about unity or vibes or protecting comedy from negativity. It's because when you actually compare the talent pools side by side, there is no comparison. And deep down, Joe knows that, and so do actual funny comedians.
Kiss of death in this business is being cool to hate.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hate a guy, but if it's cool to hate a guy, you're f***ed.
Because then people revel in it.
They revel in it and they go, I gotta hate him because I don't want to be
They're talking about Brendan Schaub here.
not cool.
Because what I tell Shane, I talked to Shane yesterday, I think it's hack to shit on Austin now.
Yeah.
It's just like hack. What are you doing? You don't live there. You don't care. I don't give a shit about Austin. I like it. I like going there.
I like Austin too.
I like
enjoy
going
it.
there. I like seeing my friends that live there.
Yeah, they have good.
That's why Dan Soder's great, isn't it? That's why Dan Soder's great. Yeah, it's kind of hack going on and on about how bad Austin is. That's why Dan Soder's fucking great. It is true. It is kind of hacky going on and on about how fucking scary. Exactly. I love it. Yeah, big up Quayle. Exactly. Mark Norman is so scared of fans. Yeah, Mark Norman's scared of people all flat out. You know what I mean? He's definitely scared of people, and he's definitely on that fucking Bert Kreischer diet when it comes to drinking. He loves the booze.
Good comment. It's not New York. We'll just put that in cement and let it dry. It's not New York. We're better.
Yo, big up Ellie. Is it Ellie or Ellie 697? Big up Ellie 697. Appreciate you. Thank you for becoming a member.
Austin, but I like Austin.
But I mean, even that, I don't care. I
don't care either because it's like a midget fighting Shaq. You know, you're like, shut up. What are you doing? I can kick you.
But what I'm saying is, like, I don't even like. We're even hating on Austin. When
I'm not hating. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah. Well, this is where we get territorial. Yeah. It was always L.A. versus New York.
Yeah. Then the Fires took care of that.
Chicago. Yeah.
What's really funny is how fast some of the comedians...
That's funny. It was always L.A. v. New York. Then the Fires took care of that. Like, fucking hell.
Who trashed Austin are suddenly backpedaling. Not that long ago, Soder was on the Regs podcast openly calling out the comedy mothership. He mentioned that a lot of comedians...
I don't think it's backpedaling. I think he's just saying the truth. It is a bit hack. Obviously, when it comes to channels, we're the definition of hack, right? I'm the definition of hack. Going on and on, talking about the same fucking topics, same Brendan things, same Brian things, Chin things. It gets exhausting. But that's the function of a YouTube channel. YouTube channels are hacky by their nature, right? So it's maybe that's why Apologia Comedian doesn't get it. But I think Dan Soder is in his rights to say, you know, constantly digging out Austin or doing the whole comparison thing is a bit hack. Obviously to us it isn't, because we're making content and talking about these things ad nauseum. But I understand from a comedian point of view, from a, you know, whatever, it gets a bit tired talking about that same fucking topic, especially when it's not really rooted in anything real. You know, it's not like they're debating about who's the funniest. You know, they're not really debating about that. They're just trying to say which scene is the best, you know, when it's like, come on. Really, if you want to compare comedians, you should be talking about who's funnier, but they're not willing to have that real conversation, because if you start talking about who's funnier, we're going to have some, you know, there's going to be some painful truths that are going to have to be delivered, because a lot of those guys in the circle of Rogan friends aren't funny at all. So, you know, but hey, let's not go down that road.
Especially the ones not in the inner circle, had the same takeaway. It's not a fun hang.
The comedy mothership is so tight knit,
right?
And I also heard it's not a fun hang if you're an Austin comic.
What, the mothership?
If you're not like in with Rogan and his crew, if you're coming up, it's not like the Cellar.
That's probably the worst thing to hear about the comedy mothership. I think that might be the one that kind of fucks them over long-term reputation wise, because one of the things that Rogan used to love talking about, now not so much, but before, when he was obsessed with mentioning Mitzi Shore and the Comedy Store, he'd always talk about the green room. He'd always talk about the hang and about how important it was to have the good vibes. And he'd always mention about great green rooms and the people in there and the things that you hear and the, you know, the need for it to be a safe space for comedians to say whatever the fuck they want, and the connections that you make and the brotherhood and the this and the that. He used to love talking about green rooms. So for Joe to finally open his own comedy club and then have the vibe of his green room be so tense, have people say that it's such a bad vibe, that it's not a nice place to hang out, I think is going to do them a lot of damage in terms of reputation amongst comedians and shit, and even maybe some viewers, you know, because you wouldn't think a Joe Rogan club would be this tense, you know, would have so many rules, would be so fucking confrontational, you know, whatever it may be. And unfortunately, from the accounts that we've heard from the Channel 5 news guy and a few other people, the Joe Rogan or the comedy mothership green room is not for the faint of heart. It's a place that you have to be, you know, invited to specifically. If not, then you might be in trouble and you might get glared down by a couple of Navy SEALs who might end up chucking you out on your ass like you're fucking Will in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
You could sit at the bar and feel awkward. Yeah. I've heard the mothership, you have to get past Navy SEALs to get into the green room.
I love Rogan. I love the club. I think it's perfect, and I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea, and every time I go there, I feel joy in my heart. Only club that when they go, do you want to come? I go, yes, before they even say, and then I feel joy.
Yeah, and he swung me. I'm I'm all in on Trump.
Oh my God, dude.
Smart guy.
The sarcasm from List and Kelly is hilarious. But
yo, big up Ricky Picture. AZ is not hack. I appreciate you. The slop channels are hack. You just speak directly to the people with no script and give us insights as a black Englishman. I appreciate it, Ricky Pitcher. Pick up Solazis. If AZ was gonna hang in a green room, he gotta let Ari Matty call him an N-word. Yeah. Yeah. As long as there's 8 balls in there, I'm in there.
Because it lets everyone know how it really works. They reacted to Soder like, how dare you trash the comedy czar out loud? And they're not wrong. A lot of smaller comedians did get a little bump by trashing the Rogan sphere. Stavros is probably the biggest example of that when he called out Rogan and Theo Von for platforming Trump. But Stav's in a different place. He's doing movies and TV. He doesn't need Rogan. And that's kind of the point. Once someone no longer needs Joe, they're suddenly a lot more willing to say the things that make sense. But Bobby and Joe List understand that long term, if you don't have a steady roll in tires, the smarter career move is not biting the hand that can still feed you. Hassan Ahmad understands this too.
Because Tom was already doing arenas.
Yeah,
you know?
it required a certain amount of people to buy in.
Yeah,
and that I'm very because of that I'm very pro Austin because like, man, if you buy in, look what can happen. Like,
yeah,
there's
you shouldn't.
Stuff you
no
can do.
one should not be pro Austin. It's funny because Lewis.
So basically, he admitted, because Austin has given me so much, because my career has kind of gone to leaps and bounds because of my association with Rogan, or my association with Austin, aka Rogan. He's now a fan. That was very revealing there, isn't it, from that Son of Maj guy. I've gotten so much out of this friendship. I've gotten so much out of this brotherhood. I've gotten so much out of moving here that I'm only going to have to say good things about Austin. Of course, because you got so much out of it, motherfucker.
And Tony were going back and forth and arguing, like Lewis shits on the Austin scene.
Right.
This New York versus Austin thing is the stupidest fucking thing of all time. Like, they should both be awesome. Who cares?
Yeah, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, like, infight. It's like catty girl fighting. It's like, why we both clearly can exist in a space where we can also help each other. Right. The New York guys are always here, and I feel like we're always there.
But the point is, what Tony and Lewis were going back and forth, and Lewis said, well, L.A. isn't even in consideration anymore as what's the best place for comedy in the country. And Tony goes, agreed. And why do you think that is? What do you think happened?
So in one breath, Rogan is saying we shouldn't be comparing places. Everyone can coexist. On the other end, he's gloating. Then 5 seconds later, he's gloating at the suggestion that all the great talent from LA that was once considered rivals to New York has moved to Austin. 1 minute is we should all get on Kumbaya. Next minute is all the best comics are in Austin. And I'm also in Austin. That must mean we're the best. Okay, dude.
Where'd those people go? And Lewis is like, oh, shit.
Nothing is funnier than two comedians talking about the intricacies of stand-up comedy. Sorry, I meant everything is funnier. Once they start talking about comedy, I'm out. Joe talking about comedy is a hard pass.
Yeah, there's a thread on the Joe Rogan subreddit now. Someone puts timestamps. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but there's a timestamps guy in the Joe Rogan subreddit. Every time a new episode gets uploaded, he or she will write on the comments, yeah, this is the comedy section. You know, they'll clearly mark it so people can avoid it. So people actively go out of their way to skip any comedy, inside baseball, industry talk. They don't even give a fuck. Whoever the guest is, they just skip it immediately, which is fucking hilarious because these guys think it's the most interesting thing ever. You know, they think it's the most interesting thing ever, but the fans fucking couldn't hate it more.
I think the decline of the LA comedy scene, even if it has declined, probably has a lot less to do with Rogan, Hinchcliffe, or Roseanne packing up and moving to Austin, and a lot more to do with old Hollywood dying at the exact same time Joe left Los Angeles. You don't have to move to LA and do favors for Joey Diaz to get stage time anymore, which makes it kind of wild.
Jesus Christ, come on, Apologia comedian, man. Stop bringing up old shit, man. Stop bringing up old shit. Leave Uncle Joey alone. Stop bringing up old shit, man. Still makes me laugh, Uncle Joey, man. He ran. He couldn't get out of LA quick enough when the cancellation started. Uncle Joey ran back to New Jersey. Or was it? Is it from? Yeah, I think New Jersey, right? He ran back to New Jersey so fucking fast. As soon as comedians started getting cancelled, he knew if I hang around too long, people are going to start digging up my old videos and talking about all the shit that I did. And then he tried to make it seem like, oh, I'm doing it for my family. He's like, come on, Joe. Come on, Joey. You know why. But yeah, big apology comedian for bringing up that little bit of lore there.
Wild that someone with a platform as massive as Joe Rogan's can be this delusional. But in Joe's mind, that's all it is. If you don't think Austin is an amazing comedy scene, you're just a hater.
But the point is, it's like denying that Austin is an amazing scene is just stupid.
Yes.
Yo, Bill Coyle, AZ, when you finally visit Austin, you're gonna be like, this is it? Yeah, for sure. But I'm also wanting to visit there mostly because I want to go on 6th Street. I want to see the fights with my own eyes, and I also want to see some whores, you know, because I've heard American whores are like on another level. So I want to see the craziness of what, you know. I just want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see how Larry it gets. The comedy stuff is a little, you know, is a side thing, you know. If I happen to get to some other shit, great. But the first thing I want to see is the 6th Street fights, and I want to see how crazy it gets, you know, with the whores and the fellas and the, I don't know, the fucking big kegs and the fucking shots and whatever. I want to see all that shit. I want to see all of that.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's like
and also, don't you want another great scene? Do you want a limited amount of options for comedians? Don't you want more comics and more comedy?
Yo, big up Ricky Pitcher. AZ, you want to come also with me in April? I'd love to, brother. I'd love to, but I think I'm probably going to be here in April. There's an event I want to go to on April. I think where am I going? Standard places I usually go, either Amsterdam or Berlin. So I think I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in Europe or at home in April. But I'll probably end up going to the States this year anyway, for sure. I think the plan is to go somewhere within the first 6 months of the year. So I've got until what? June? I've got until June to decide where, but I want to go somewhere. Probably would end up going in Austin, but it won't be in April. I think it might be a bit later.
Right, and more places for you to end up performing.
Shut up.
Like now you can go to Austin and spend a couple weeks there and get a lot of time.
I just don't want to go LA or New York. I've been LA, New York too many times already. I'm bored. It's also not the true representation of America. I want to go to like a real American, you know what I mean? An actual American place. That'd be fucking sick.
And learn how to talk to people here.
There's so many bitches in this world. So many bitches. And those bitches never get anything done. They just sit and bitch. And this and that and that and this and that and this.
Yeah.
And nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
The first thing I got to do is the London link up. I got to link up with fucking Gamebred and what's his fucking name, and Wingus. I've got to get that because I think I've done a couple that to be fair, I was ill at the time. But I've got to get the London link up done. I'll do the London link up done this year, for sure. And then after that's done, I'll definitely do the little mini America tour thing for sure as well. But I'll definitely need to get the London one out of the way as well for everyone that watches me from the great British Isles as well. But yeah, America trip coming very, very, very soon.
They never progress.
Yeah, man, just video essays. I watch all the video essays.
That's
yeah,
so funny. Why would you watch those?
It's just so funny to me because the whole concept that Austin has ruined comedy.
You know what's funny? This guy used to write for Brendan, isn't it? Right? This guy used to be one of Brendan's comedy writers with Derek Poston. I'm pretty sure this is the guy that helped Brendan write You'd Be Surprised. So he's responsible. This guy is partly responsible for some of the legendary jokes in one of the worst specials of all time, rated wise on IMDb. I'm pretty sure he is one of the architects, one of the ghostwriters for You'd Be Surprised.
It's very funny to me because there's so many comics that are blowing up outside everywhere all the time.
It's just silly.
It's
just like my friend said. It's a walled garden. That's what it is. It seems like the people are having too much fun. And if you're not there and if you don't have aspirations to be there, you feel bad about it.
It's not that people think Austin is killing comedy. The fatigue comes from how Joe made him and 6 other comedians who Cat Williams said ain't never been funny are considered the best comedians in America.
Cat Williams is so true. Cat Williams is so fucking right. Cat Williams is so fucking right.
It's funny that he asked Isan, why would you watch those essay videos? Because he's admitting that he's aware of them. If he genuinely didn't know what those videos were, he would have asked what they are. Joe loves YouTube, so the idea that he's never clicked on a comedy drama essay is almost impossible to believe. I like to imagine he's watched at least one podcast cringe or Burt hate compilation at 2 in the morning. And now it's getting harder for him to avoid altogether. Comedians are mentioning these videos on JRE, and other comedians are openly admitting they watch them.
Now, Crack rules. Red Bar's the fucking man. I love
Joe
love
Rogan.
these
Don't
guys.
forget Joe.
Joe's trying to go over all the podcasts that trash.
Love him. Too Lazy to Try, my favorite.
God,
thing
that
in
guy's
the
videos.
world.
How does he get them up so quick?
The other one, I can't think of the other
Beige
one.
Frequency. Oh my God, what
Elephant.
an artist.
I watch them all. People act like they don't watch them, but
Yeah.
comics watch them all.
Well, Too Lazy to Try is
if
my
you make a
favorite
video
thing
about
on
me,
earth.
Out of all the Austin comedy assassins who are aware of the ongoing hate toward the Austin scene, the next one to snap was LeMaire Lee, which is funny because Lewis has consistently platformed LeMaire, bringing him onto his podcast, giving him spots on Legion of Skanks, and generally doing everything to help someone up a level. But one night, after what was very clearly one drink too many, LeMaire decided he needed to chime in. Since then, Lewis has been on a personal mission to tear LeMaire to shreds on basically every podcast he appears on.
LeMaire took it very personally. LeMaire, you are not a major player in this. You are a fucking just main character syndrome. LeMaire's like, oh, they're talking shit about your scene. Shut up, LeMaire.
Yeah.
Shut up. If Shane moved to Iceland, you'd be an Iceland comic.
Jesus
What are you
Christ.
talking
That's
about? Where's
funny.
your loyalty? Your loyalty is to Shane.
That's funny. That's funny. If Shane moves to Iceland, you'll be an Iceland comic. Icelandic, but yeah. Big up Lewis J. Gomez. That's funny.
Fucking zip code.
Trashing LeMaire for sleeping on Shane's couch is just ruthless. It's low-hanging fruit, but Lewis doesn't care. He went straight for the jugular. And the funniest part is imagining LeMaire as it all happened, drunk and confident enough to think he could handle the backlash, but then right after you post about it, an absolute psycho calls you and says he must now kill you.
I called LeMaire immediately. And I'm like, LeMaire, I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, oh man, you know. And I was like, well now I have to kill you. I was like,
Did he sound nervous when he picked up?
I don't know, nervous. I was just like, look, we're boys. Like if you got a problem with something I say, just pick up the fucking phone and call me because that's what I do, right?
Yeah.
If I have a problem with something that one of my friends, quote unquote, say, because LeMaire is somebody that I put on Skankfest year after year after year, Legion of Skanks, Story Wars, Real Life Podcast. Before LeMaire had famous friends, we were the fucking famous friends. So now I get that LeMaire has followed Shane to Austin and gets to live on his fucking couch, right? But guess what?
Pool house.
LeMaire's only fucking getting Austin's back because Shane lives there. If Shane moved to Iceland, well.
Yo, that hate is a little bit too much, isn't it? Like, didn't he just have a difference of opinion? You said you think New York comics are better. Tony Hinchcliffe said Austin's were better, and LeMaire stepped in and said his piece. He's going a little bit too hard on him, isn't it? This is a little bit too much. This seems like a lot of like deep-seated hate that he's finally getting a chance to kind of let loose because of what LeMaire may or may not have done that might have upset him. But I don't think this reaction is warranting what LeMaire said in those screenshots. You know, it really isn't. You just like, God damn, man, relax on the guy.
And LeMaire would be an Iceland comic.
Let me tell you right
Black
now.
Iceland.
LeMaire would be a fucking New York comic if Shane moved back to New York. Let's get fucking real. So anyway, whatever. I'm literally going like, LeMaire, like you're somebody who like I've looked out for, who we've helped out, who I've always thought.
What does that mean, by the way? Because you looked out and helped out for him, he has to agree with everything you say. He can't have a difference of opinion. We looked out for you. What does that mean? That means you can't trash the stuff that I do or the things I'm a part of. You can't think differently from how I think. You know what I mean? Like, what? You can't hold a different position. What? What does that actually mean? Come on, bro.
We were friends and fucking cool, and then people were like, no, LeMaire just gets fucking drunk. And then I think Crack and Miko nailed it because the next day LeMaire like doubled down and started arguing with everybody. But I think he was just drunk tweeting. His feelings got hurt because he heard us talking about this and he took it personally. And I wasn't talking about LeMaire because I've always thought LeMaire was funny and cool.
Yeah.
I was talking about a couple other people, but regardless, it doesn't even matter. He took it personally, and then the next day he was like, well, now I'm going to make it pro wrestling and double down and keep on fucking tapping in on this.
Lewis loves LeMaire. If anything, that's what makes this whole thing even funnier, because there's a very real chance this is all intentional.
Yo, big up Coiler, really? Lots of YouTube slop of Lewis being a D'Elia lately, really? Ooh. But yeah, man, big up LeMaire, man. Like, stick with your guns, man. Stick with your guns. If you think Austin, your new home, is the best place, then say it with your whole fucking chest. Fuck these guys. Because that attack from Luis Gomez was completely unwarranted, I think. A little bit way excessive. Way overboard for nothing, personally, in my humble opinion. But again, what do I know? Absolutely nothing. When it comes to this debate about the Austin comedy thing, Austin VLA, like, again, I just find it really funny how the conversation isn't really rooted in, like, who's funny, you know? Or who's funnier. The conversation's about which scene is this and the abundance of comedians. It's not about which specific comedian is better, you know? Comparing and contrasting from each fucking place and shit. And really going through their whole discography, whatever, with a fine tooth comb and come to conclusion, okay, he or she's better. No one's saying that. They're just doing this whole big debate about which areas. Like, come on, man, forget all that noise. Let's see who's got the best subjective taste, and let's actually compare comedians like for like, and see what area is fucking better. But they won't do that because they're too afraid of upsetting Rogan and anyone else in their little crew. So we get one of these fucking dumb debates, isn't it? We get one of these dumb debates. Oh, my arm a little bit. Oof. I think I'm gonna take a little tablet. Bear me a second. I'm gonna take a little painkiller. My arm is throbbing really fucking bad. Bear me 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Oh.